in real life, that guy's one of his big poker buddies.
Really?
Yeah, he's an actor, but he loves playing poker. But Jimmy, you are 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 minute from air.
Franklin once said, "If you fail to plan, you are planning."
I'm proud of you, Jimmy. I really am. I'm proud of you, what you're doing. Because it ain't easy. It's not easy walking away from that crap.
Planning first and investing second is exactly what we discuss with you.
Faith Furman's watching. Hi, Faith.
So set an appointment to join us right here every Saturday morning.
And so Mom's with you today. Mom going to tell us some stories?
We'll see.
If I can remember them.
Inside 30 seconds, guys.
Still warming up out there today. More cloud cover coming in. We've seen a few showers around from time to time to start.
How's your baby doing, Jimmy?
Great. They love seeing Grandma.
Oh, yeah.
My wife was naturalized on Tuesday. My wife's from the Philippines.
I did not know that.
So she was naturalized, and
Jimmy, here we go.
okay. Good morning. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Recovery Talk. I am your host, Jim Quigley. It's Thursday, 10:30. One of my favorite times of the week, and we got a great show for you. Before I introduce my guest, want to start the show off by giving a shout out to the sponsor of this show, which is a mechanic shop here in town, Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local shop open Monday through Saturday. Pay attention, there's Saturday. Not a lot of shops open on Saturday. But Freedom Auto Tech exists to give you a good service on your vehicle. Parts come with a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty. And you can know as a customer that the proceeds are going to support men in Christian recovery. So if you got a problem with your vehicle, go get it fixed over at Freedom Auto Tech. Give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Get put on a schedule, set an appointment. And remember, Saturdays you can get your car fixed. So it is a special day for me, the host. I've been doing this show for over a year. And the guest, if you are on Facebook Live, you can see we don't have the typical guest. We have a parent that has dealt with the effects of substance abuse in her life as she grew up and as she had a family of her own. And I can speak firsthand about her experience because she's my mom. So this morning, my mom has been in town. A lot of the audience does not know that my wife is from the Philippines, and she was naturalized as a U.S. citizen on Tuesday. So she graciously flew up from South Florida to come and celebrate with our family as my wife became a U.S. citizen. And I got her. She was here, and she had to be on the show because mom can't say no to son, right? So she's up in Boone, and she's here, and she doesn't fly out till this evening, so she's here for 10:30 Thursday, and we finally got her on the show. So say hi to everyone, Mom, on Facebook and on air.
Good morning.
So we are not going to go to my mom's age. We don't need to because that's inappropriate. But you know what? My mom has never touched the stuff, as you might say. But she grew up around it. And we're not going to get into lots of gory details or anything. But, you know, Mom, I think you have a lot of experience and a lot of hope to share with people that are out there that have loved ones that grew up around it and don't understand it. And I'm not saying you understand it fully. I don't think I understand it fully. But, you know, we'd like to hear what you are willing to share with us about your experience, specifically when it comes to this thing that's now a national epidemic, which is substance abuse. So, take us there, Mom.
Well, I think it was only by the grace of God that I did not get involved in any way in drugs, and it was only because of my age. I was raised in a very Christian home, very disciplined, and I was restricted from dating, going to dances, never went to a prom, so it was strict. And I was the firstborn, And so I followed my parents' instructions, and because of the year, I believe that all the drugs use started, I was in high school, and I didn't realize that people even that I was dating were using drugs. But when I found out, there was no more any contact with those people, and it was quite shocking. But my siblings were all affected by it, and
so even though you had a household that had strict rules and whatnot, and even though you obeyed your parents, it didn't work out that way for your siblings.
Right. And unfortunately, the reason probably was when I got married at a young age, my father left when I left. And so it left a dysfunctional family, my mother with my 3 younger siblings, and then the drug culture, and it all went downhill from there.
So I do want to say that that a lot of times, and even we have talked about this, a lot of people will trace back, splitting up of parents or whatnot. And what's interesting is Grandpa never divorced Grandma, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, because he knew that she might lose some of the benefits. And my father always said he was going to die at the age of 65 of a heart attack, because his father died at 65 of a heart attack, and his sister died of a heart attack at 50. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind for many years, but I've fortunately passed that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the age thing. But, what I was going to say is that there's a lot of parents out there that take a lot of guilt because of splitting up and their children, going into the lifestyle of substance abuse. But, I have consistently said that I had the very root problems that I believe that kind of helped me. Well, not help me, but it kind of, the root problems that I was covering up or whatever with substance abuse in my own life were in existence way before even you and Dad split up. So I have never associated and I'm not saying that there isn't kids that have that issue, but I will say that out of all the families out there that get divorced, there are plenty of kids that don't go down that path, right? So I wish. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't reconciliation or forgiveness or anything like that to work through when it comes to children and parents, but saying that is the reason is too generalized for me. Like I said, if you even look at us, I'm one of 4. I'm the oldest. I'm one of 4. It's a 50-50 thing. We got 2 of us that have severely been impacted by substance abuse, and my sisters, not necessarily. They have not had the struggles like we have. They have not gone to the hospitals, the rehabs, all that kind of stuff. So there you go in just our own life. So what is it that gets people to going into that path of substance abuse? It literally is how the individual sees himself in this world, and how they navigate this world through their belief system. And yes, I'm not going to take away that divorce can have an effect on bringing people into conflict and traumatizes people. Absolutely, that happens, but it isn't necessarily what forces somebody into substance abuse. A good friend of mine, author Mark Shaw, he just points out the fact that substance abuse starts off with a choice, and then that choice becomes habitual, and then the chemicals obviously get their hooks in, and then it becomes a very destructive, where it looks like almost like there's no choice anymore. And there's a lot to be talked about there, but anyway, I think that's a long way of saying that divorce obviously has a negative impact on the people that get divorced and on the family around them, but it isn't necessarily what pushes people into their own bad habits. It starts with the individual deciding. I mean, you and Dad never used anything around us. I never saw. I think I have very small memories of Dad smoking cigarettes, but I don't. I mean, it's very foggy because it didn't happen very long. And Dad he drank one beer in front of me my whole life, and I never forgot that. He poured it out in front of me, took 2 sips and poured it out and said, I don't do this, because somebody had given him a beer. We were in Pensacola, Florida on a vacation. Someone gave him a beer, and he poured it out over the balcony of the beach, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I don't do this. I don't even know why I started to drink this. And I've never saw you drinking growing up. She did tell me she smoked cigarettes, though. I never knew that about Mom until later in life.
Now you've told her a secret.
Well, when she was trying to encourage me to quit smoking, because I was a little, I think I was 15 years old when I started smoking around you, and I was throwing it in your face. And when you were trying to tell me, you said it was very hard to quit. You for years would smell it and still be very tempted to smoke, but you gave it up a long time ago. Anyway, so 1 of 4. What Mom didn't tell you is that my grandmother actually had. She was married before, and she had 4 other children. So you have 4 half siblings, and there was some dramatic effects of substance abuse in that side of the family too. That you knew all of them. You were close to all of them too. One of I guess was Sandy the oldest.
No, Bruce.
Bruce. Okay, Sandy. Where'd she fall in line? Third. Sandy, ultimately, I remember her the most because she went to the same Bible college that I went to, met my uncle, and was a missionary in Papua New Guinea for 30 plus years. And when I first came out of substance abuse, my uncle called me and said that he and Sandy had been praying for me for at least 10 years to come out of it. So very interesting story when it comes to them. But yeah, Bruce, we never know exactly how he died, really.
Well, after he had 8 children, he deserted the family and he was a classic hobo. Yeah. And died in the gutter in California.
It was very sad.
Very.
But we love the Brooks family. But anyway, we got a break coming up. Stick with us, folks. We might be rambling a little bit, but we'll tie it in here and we'll start going here in a second.
Yeah, my dad, the way he caught me smoking, he didn't care about the breath. He'd say, "Let me smell your hand." He goes, "You've been smoking." All he said to me was, he said, "You want to smoke? They're your lungs. You buy your own. Don't mooch them off of me."
Well,
my mother was upset. She was really disappointed, but my dad said, "Hey, Rose, he's going to do it anyway. Let him find out himself." I quit smoking. I haven't had a cigarette going on 11 years. Come from next February.
Really?
Yeah,
well, I only did it as peer pressure and in high school a little bit.
Well, everybody smoked in our era.
Yeah.
When you got in this business, I can never forget, we were in class, and the instructor said, "How many of you in here do not smoke?" 4 girls' hands went up, and he said, "You want to get rid of your squeaky voice, you better pick up a pack of cigarettes, because it'll lower your voice." And they encouraged it.
You want to hear what's going on the radio? This is Bill Fisher, right? Doing the voice. He does a good job.
Bill Fisher is a very talented man.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Hi, honey.
You know, it's funny. I didn't realize that Bill was part of that Pink Floyd cover band.
Oh yeah.
And that's my favorite band of all time.
Let's turn our attention to sports.
Yeah, I did see. Hold on.
Do you remember the Animals album?
Yes.
That was. Here we go, Jimmy.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back, folks, to Recovery Talk brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Sorry, I was trying to do two things at once. It's a dangerous thing for me to do because I'm not a very good multitasker. But Freedom Auto Tech is the show's sponsor, so we need to talk about them real brief. Give them a call. It's a professional auto shop here in town, ready to service all your mechanical needs for your vehicle. Got a check engine light, little click under the hood, need your tires looked at, give them a call. We're brake specials going on right now, AC specials, 828-355-4434. That's their number. Get put on the schedule. Remember, they're open Monday through Saturday, which is unique around here when it comes to mechanic shops. 828-355-4434. And know as a customer that your business is going to support men in Christian recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. It's a one-year program that I am a graduate of and my life changed because of, and a lot of people you see and hear on this show are also. So 828-355-4434. Last time I'll give the number out. Give them a call if you need some work done on your vehicle. All right, back to my mom. So thanks to everybody being here. She was just asking, your daughter Meredith is watching, Michael Moorhead's watching, Christy Gauger, Aunt Nancy's watching, Aunt Sibby.
Oh,
I keep
wow.
calling her Aunt Faith Thurman, my wife. Everybody's watching that loves you like I do. So Mom, you get married. You have 4 children, probably the best kids that have ever. So I am the beginning of probably the black sheepness, the rebellion, and whatnot. What are your first memories of me starting to go down? This is interesting. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. What are some of your first memories of me starting to go, or maybe did you have any parental intuition that there was some things wrong?
Well, I didn't. Having 4 children in 5 years, I was kind of busy, and
Sure.
and moms can block things out. But one day I was making your bed, and it was a water bed, and
The good old water beds.
tucking the sheets in, and I found a pipe, and that's how I found out that you were smoking pot.
Mm-hmm.
You would go down the street. We lived in Wellington at the time, and so that's where it started that I was aware of. I believe your father and I were divorced at that time.
No.
But
Because I remember the conference. Like you guys called me into your room, and there it was on the bed.
Oh.
And you both were looking at me, and I don't think you knew what to do, and I was pretty like, so what? So you found it, you know. And I think it, Dad acted, he was not acted. I'm sure he was very disappointed, and I don't really know exactly because I was already, you guys caught me, but I was already pretty full scale rebellion at that point. I think I was already stealing your vehicle at night,
yes,
driving all over town.
we found that.
14 years old, stealing their
I just can't
vehicles.
believe this.
It's not really funny, but I mean, I look back on it, and but we actually went over this story the other night. This is what had happened. I'm not going to name names, but I have a friend that I had met at summer camp before I had ever done any drugs or whatever. I think we were 11, and we had met at a summer camp, and we got together. He came down to visit his father and his stepmother every summer, and he lived in Illinois. So he still does. He lives in Peoria, Illinois. And I'm still friends with him on Facebook, and he's doing very well. He is a family man and a Christian, it's nice to see him. But anyway, what happened is I went on a mini vacation with him and his parents to some friend's house, and I was there, and I had told you last night I had discovered that you could get high off huffing butane cans.
Don't give anybody ideas.
So, trust me, people don't bother with those things anymore. They have other things out there that are not like. So anyway, I shared this with my buddy that was smoking. He was smoking cigarettes, and I was smoking cigarettes. And his dad had been told by his mom, that he's smoking cigarettes. So his dad confronted him during this mini vacation at these people's house, and I saw him kind of trade stand up to his dad kind of like arrogantly, I mean, his dad was in a difficult position. He only gets his son for the summers, right? So he doesn't want to ruin the summer by being too hard on him, I'm sure. But, he doesn't want his son smoking cigarettes either. And his dad had quit smoking. And his dad at one point said, "Give me a cigarette." And he gave him one, and he's like, put it in his mouth, and his dad said, "So you think this is cool? You think I look cool? You think this is cool?" And we were like laughing, like, "Man, you're being ridiculous," But like after all that kind of went down, I told my buddy, because his parents and the people that we were visiting went to go play golf. I told my buddy, I said, "You know what? These people that we're visiting, I know they smoke pot." And he's like, "You think so?" And I said, "I know so." So we went rifling through drawers, and sure enough, I find pot. And we steal pot out of. He had a couple small bags of pot. We steal a little bit out of each one, and we split it up with each other. And he showed me, he had already smoked pot before. He showed me how to make a pipe out of a tin foil, and so we used it.
More ideas.
Yeah, well, these are. I was 14, Mom. So, I am 43. These are very old ideas. So when I got home, the thing that you found, what had ended up happening was I went in and got all creative, MacGyver. That was back when MacGyver was on. So I went into my dad's shop, and I found like a plumbing fitting, and I found, a screen from the sink, and I found some tubing from the fish tank, and I put this little contraption together. And it was just like the coolest thing, and I was bragging to all my friends because I could hold this thing in my hand and run the tube up my sleeve. And at 14 years old, I can show people that I could like stealthily smoke this pot that I had stolen. And then that's what you guys had ended up finding. You found this thing that I had made, and this marijuana that I had stolen, and that did not deter me. Getting caught did not deter me about anything. It started to progress from there even. I did not make it past in credit-wise, 10th grade in high school. I think by that time you and Dad had got a divorce, and we were bouncing back from both you guys, but I was in full, like, you know what, now that they're divided, I could do whatever I wanted. And trust me, I was already of that mindset. I was kind of waiting for something like that to happen so that I could do my own thing, and then I eventually moved out of the house when I was 17 years old. I had two jobs. I had a job delivering Chinese food at night, and then I was
The Royal Dragon
in Royal
Palm Beach.
And then I was a telemarketer for a fax machine printer company during the day. So I just did these two jobs, and I lived my life. And praise God, I have this lady next to me, because she insisted, even though I had moved out, she insisted that I go and take my GED test. As soon as I dropped out of high school and was living on my own and working, she's like, "You got to do that thing." And you did all the legwork for me. You signed me up for the test, you called, you filled out the paperwork, and all I had to do was show up to a building with an ID and take the test. It took 3 days, and I was able to pass that test and graduate the same weekend my high school class graduated.
You walked down with your class.
No,
in
it
the
was
auditorium. I thought.
No, they had their graduation at the same venue the next weekend. I think that was it. Yeah, I graduated with the people that had gotten GEDs, and I walked with those people, and then my high school class used the same venue. And walked the next weekend. So I used to love to tell people I actually graduated before my high school class. So, and you know what? I hated school. I'm gonna tell you, I could not stand school. My parents tried to. They gave me private school all the way to the 4th grade. I believe I was in private school. No, I went further than 5th or 6th, and then we switched to public school in middle school. I did. But yeah, I could not stand school. And, this interesting few shows, you watch all the shows. So, a consistent theme with people that have come from substance abuse backgrounds is that most will tell you that people that have lived this life are usually very intelligent people, right? You don't necessarily need to be like book smart, but you need to be smart. You need to know how to think, because there's so much deception and manipulation that you have to go through in order to maintain jobs, to be able to deceive your loved ones. There's just so much involved in that. You have to have a high capacity to be thinking about all kinds of scenarios and whatnot. You just kind of have to be doing it all the time. So that is true consistently about people that come from this background. And what also is true is that they hate school. They hate school. They almost feel like they go and it's just the most boring thing in the world. And they usually make poor marks because it's so boring. They don't want to do anything, But it doesn't really have a good pulse on their true intelligence, because usually they're very intelligent people. So I really think that ultimately when we really start to tackle like the pre-intervention for substance abuse before people get into it, there's going to have to be some big change when it comes to the education of people. One size does not fit all, and this is true in all kinds of other scenarios. I mean, yeah, people can grin and bear it and get through it, but I think that for the health of people, going up, we need to, to intervene before these things become a problem. And I think one of those big factors is going to be finding out a different way to challenge people in school and learning how people learn differently. It's already proven in fields like autism. Autistic people are usually very intelligent, and you just got to learn how they learn. And you got to, if you want to get into the public education argument, public education is great, but it started out as an assistant to the parents, and now the parents have deferred pretty much everything to the public education system, where it was never meant to just take over what parents are supposed to. They're supposed to help parents. It wasn't supposed to do all the job, and I think there needs to be a change in that. So that's my personal opinion. But Mike's giving me the 30-second sign, so we're gonna stop there and go to break. But stick with us, folks. We got a lot to tell you when we come back.
It's the High Country's
Boy, Jimmy, I can't believe the stuff you do. My gosh, buddy.
Yeah. You don't know half of it yet, Mike. So
I don't know half of it either. I find more and more things.
Go back to their home countries if they have any complaints about the U.S. The president talked about Representative Ayanna Presley. She thinks that people with the same skin color all need to think.
Tell you what, these people want him out.
Have you ever seen politics like this before?
It reminds me a lot of what happened with Nixon.
Yeah.
And here's the way I look at it. Yeah, he's a nut. To me, he's like Ernest T. Bass. You don't know what the hell's going to come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But the economy's working. People are working. He's trying to get the country back on its feet. Because I think the last 8 years we developed a you owe me attitude.
Yeah.
And I don't think it works that way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's begin. Brewers a 5-0 lead.
You can't like deny the progress in the economy.
No, you can't. And he knows what he's doing. The thing is, he has no tact.
Tonight, I'm Mike Kelly, High Country Sport.
I mean, he has no tact at all. No tact at all. He's just who he is. It's like I told my wife, he's different, but he's changed the face of politics. And that's why many politicians don't like him, because you have to also understand that in their eyes, you're ruining what's a great thing for us. Because many politicians, what do they want to do? They want to stay in office, shake hands, look good, make everybody happy, and then try to say we're doing this, that, and the other, but nothing gets accomplished.
I know.
Brandon's watching now. Janice.
A lot of people don't think it's deadly.
But Jimmy, I just can't believe. Jimmy, I just cannot believe he did stuff like that. Stealing your mom's car. You actually stole your mother's car.
For a long time. I was doing it like every night for like a year.
God, Jimmy.
We found out, we went out one morning and there was mud and grass in the wheel well of the car. And then the car didn't drive very well. And we had to go and get it repaired. And he was doing doing, what do they call that?
Was burning out people's lawns.
Yeah.
Join the movement
Yeah,
and
you see
stop
that
bad
kids go and do that. They think it's
Help
cool.
us fight a deadly disease and show
Holy
We found out he was
cow.
doing that. We had
Jimmy, what are
Together,
you
we can
doing?
stop.
a typical teenager. We had an alarm system in the house, and there were two keypads, and he'd have one person hold a pillow over the keypad that was closest to our bedroom, and then they'd go out the back door where the other keypad was.
Jimmy, what in God's name are you doing, Jimmy?
Figured it all out.
Like I said, you got to be kind of highly intelligent to
Young
do this
lady
kind of
that's been
stuff.
involved with plumbing needs, give Jeff's Plumbing a call at 828-264-5406. While we
Christy
move
said hi.
from Jeff's Plumbing
Hey,
to
Christy.
Mary
Club
said she went
I
to.
can't wait to come and visit you in Tennessee.
Mary said she went to private till 6, but she thinks I left before
While we
her.
move,
Oh.
There's no accountability.
looking forward to working with you.
Hannah,
Thank you for having me. I
our
appreciate it. It was
accountant.
good talking to you.
All right, the new
So,
girls golf coach at Watauga, Tasha Wilson, and she'll make her debut in late August. That'll do one of our show. Wilson, and she'll make her debut in late August. That'll do it. That'll.
I think one of the reasons
Put them in handcuffs and take them away.
I didn't like pot was because it was dirty looking, you know, and it was smelly and dirty, and I didn't want to participate in holding that joint.
Yeah.
How long ago did your dad pass away?
My dad didn't. He's still
Was he
alive.
still alive?
My father
Yeah. Her father.
died in
How old was he?
81. He just turned 66. And it was before my youngest was born.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think I'm the only one that has memories of him, though.
really.
I was 6, I think. 81.
Yeah, you were born in 76.
Weather Center 9, high
So
country weather.
4.
Still warming up
6,
out
yeah.
there today, even with more cloud cover coming
Okay,
in.
Jimmy.
A few showers around.
You are 25 seconds away. Mics will go hot here
That's widespread what we saw in a few spots for you
in 5 seconds.
possible. Same story heading into Friday and the week.
Mics are hot.
Hey folks, welcome back to Recovery Talk. I'm Jim Quigley. I'm here in the studio this morning with my mom. She's graced us with her presence to be able to kind of go over some old stories about what it was like growing up herself around it and around substance abuse, and then having children that struggled with it. But before we get back into the story, don't forget about our show sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. They're a local shop here in town, mechanic shop, ready to work on all your vehicle needs, and you can know as a customer all the proceeds are going to support men in Christian recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. If you have a check engine light on, or you just have some basic service that needs to be done, oil change specials, AC specials, we're doing lots of brake jobs right now. Give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Don't forget, they're open Monday through Saturday. A lot of shops are not open on Saturday, but you can get your car worked on at Freedom Auto Tech on Saturdays. Give them a call, and we could appreciate your business, and you know that your business is going to support a good cause. All right, so I guess where I'm at in my mind is from the parent's perspective. I mean, I know the hell that I was, involved in, and I know that I don't think I could ever, fully understand how that's impacting my family around me, So, from that time, if you can just think, and I know you said it's hard to remember a lot of things, but I mean, that was getting caught around 14. I'd already been messing around with things for a couple years before that, but getting caught, and then we had this period between then and 24 years old. That's when I was arrested, and my life turned around. I got sober at 24 years old, and then a couple years later I went to Bible college. But if you can remember, do you have any memories from that block of time that you think maybe it would be good to talk about?
Oh gosh. I just know that it was difficult with all four of you, and I had to go to a parenting class that the county offered to deal with the situation at home now that I was a single parent with 4 kids, and the rebellion wasn't only you,
Mm-hmm.
and the influences that were had from negative things in the community and whatnot that had on my children that I didn't find out about right away. But one thing I'd like to say that the school recommended a parenting class that the county gave, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. And I think any parent that's struggling raising their children, and we don't know, we don't read a book on how to parent, take advantage of things like that. I wonder if up here in the high country, if your government in any way offers things like that, it's worthwhile checking out and taking advantage of it. I remember coming home one day and everybody's looking at you, and you had sunglasses on, and they were all waiting for me to react, and I didn't know what had happened, and you were sitting there hiding your face, and you had been sucker punched, and that's the story that I
Right.
was told. I don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but your orbit had been shattered, and your face was all swollen, and it had been a couple days, and I was just being made aware of it, and off to the hospital we went, and you had to have surgery, and thank God your eye was saved. But that's just one of the many things that occurred, and then you overdosing, and thank God for a friend, a lifelong friend that recognized the symptoms and was able to get you to the hospital, and you were in a coma. Another time, one of the hardest things, finding you in the bathtub with your wrists split. I thought you were taking a long time in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And finally, I just went in, and there you were in a pool of blood.
Mm-hmm.
But God has spared you for this. Through all of that, God has had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
God has a plan for everyone's life if you just let Him take control of your life. And thank God you have let God take control of your life.
Mm.
And you're doing a wonderful. He is blessing you and blessing those who are benefiting from your leadership. And Freedom Farm Ministries was just a gift from God.
Mm. It really was for me. I definitely was not sucker punched the first time. I was intoxicated and started a fight with somebody by running my mouth, and I was punched, and then it did immediately break my orbit. So the sucker punching came in that I couldn't see, and because there was dirt too, and I was sitting in my vehicle with my hands over and the guy kept hitting me, and like people got him off of me. So that was the sucker punching part. But yeah, I'll never forget that. I think I was almost 18 when that happened. Broke my orbit, and I tell people that I had to have my eye taken out, and they spackled it and put it back in. That's what I tell people. But it was a serious injury. Then I kind of floundered for many years, and then when I was saying at 24, I got arrested. I don't know how much you remember of that story, but
I remember you saying, "Oh, Mom, I wasn't drunk." Was that when you were on your way to church? You said.
So, for the past few months, right up to this story, what happened was I was living about 45 minutes. I was living in Gardens, and you guys had the apartment in Polo Chase in Wellington. And when I say you guys, my siblings were living there in an apartment with you. So I had been visiting church about once a month or so, just to kind of like get in your good graces. I mean, I enjoyed going. So I would go. As I grew up there, people would say hi to me. People watching right now, they would say hi, and it was nice to see everybody, you know. And I'd usually get lunch with you, and you know, sometimes I could convince you to give me some money, you know. So I was doing that, and then I got really intoxicated one night, and I came out of this nightclub at like 3:30 in the morning, or no, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was a Sunday morning, and I had this insane idea that I would go 45 minutes to their house, to your apartment, and I would sleep on the couch and set an alarm and wake up and make everybody breakfast and go to church. That's what I was going to do. And on the way to do that, I got pulled over about 5 minutes from your house, and I was completely obliterated and was arrested for DUI at that point. But yeah, that was that started a bright spot for 6 years. I got into the recovery community in South Florida, and I stayed sober. And a couple years into that, that's when I went to Bible college, and everything seemed like it wasn't going to. It was just going to continue to progress up.
I have a little side story to that.
Sure.
You tried to convince me that you weren't drunk, that the cops were after, you know, out to get you. You had gone to jail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I have friends in lots of places, and I had a good friend at the sheriff's department, and I told him the story, and I said, you know, he says he's innocent. So he pulled up the video of the arrest, and he said, Debbie, please. He was beyond. And so I had proof that he was telling me a story, and so I think that kind of helped you maybe make a decision to go a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was trying to get out of trouble best I could. Somebody please come and rescue me from this issue. I'd never been officially arrested to that degree. I'd been detained before in a jail cell for getting caught driving an illegal vehicle and having paraphernalia on me. But I'd never been officially arrested until then. That's when the first time I had. That's the only thing on my arrest record was that DUI, and that was in 1999. So yeah, I'll never forget that. 1999, and a week later, I got sober for the first time in a long time, and I tell people my life took off like a rocket ship, and it wasn't maybe 2 years into that. That's when I went to Columbia International University. You know, 26-year-old freshman at a college. I had been doing night school. You know, things just were dramatically different. You know, I was attending church all the time. I don't know if you remember, I grew my hair out, and I was reading the Bible during church, and I was a deacon, and you know, things were progressing very well. But
back then it was Columbia Bible College.
No, not when I went, but
well, before,
right.
When my sister went, and her husband, and I had been to that campus several times, and I was just shocked that you were going to go to that same school.
Yeah.
Because I was so familiar with it. I was thrilled, but it was recommended, I believe, by the minister, correct?
Mm-hmm. Steve Jones, the assistant pastor at the church at the time down there in South Florida, Lake Osborne Presbyterian Church, where I grew up. So, and then unfortunately, after turning 30, I was in a car accident. Between my last 2 semesters of college, down there, on my way to your house, I was in a car accident, and that led me back down a path of where I've relapsed significantly, and things got pretty bad again. Anyway, we got to take a break. I'll be right back to finish the story out.
I'm Rachel Bridgman. Are you ready?
I wanted you to finish it. That's why.
Planning for a
That's why I
family in the
stayed a
near
while.
future or farther along down the road?
It was an interest.
It's your
God,
choice.
Jimmy.
And here
that
at
was
Up
bad.
Healthcare, we are here for you.
And you
Your
went to do
reproductive
breakfast
health
and you
is
got
important to
busted?
your overall health, including the
Was it
health
a
of
state
your
or was it a
App
local?
Healthcare offers
Local
many different
sheriff.
forms of birth control at sliding scale
Yeah.
fees.
Was he a
was-
jerk to you? Or?
No, actually, one guy, there was 2 of them, and one guy was about ready to let me go to the apartment. I was like, look, I'm going right there. I could point. I said, look, I'm going right there. And they noticed that on my driver's license, I had an endorsement to drive emergency vehicles, right? Because I'd gone to fire academy, and that was on my driver's license that I could, because I was not hired in the fire department, but I had done that, you know. So.
You graduated
Jimmy, I'll
from
tell
fire
you, Jimmy, you,
school.
man,
And he said, "Why do you have this? Why do you have this endorsement?" I said, "Well, I'm a certified firefighter, EMT." And he goes, "Who do you work for?" And I said, "I don't yet. I'm trying to get a job." And I was like, "And you know, this will ruin my chances of getting a job." And he looked at it, and he looked at his partner, and his partner didn't even look back at him. You could tell he could feel the look. And this guy, you could tell, he was like a 30-year cop, you know, and this other guy was pretty new. And he looked at him and he said, "Well, I'm really sorry about your, you know, but no one did this but you." And he said, "Turn around." And put me in his car.
That was a blessing.
Yeah.
30 seconds, big man.
All right.
Clearance is in full swing with all our summer clothing 50 to 60% off. Come in
It's all
for
part
a
of the
neural
plan.
hormone skin analysis and receive a free gift valued at $40
Yeah,
with
like
your
I
neural
said,
hormone purchase. Have an upcoming wedding?
You said
Check
it
out our
best.
national
What he's
bridal
doing is a
sale on
godsend.
in-stock bridal gowns.
It really
Bright
is.
jewelry
Mics are going
is a
live.
gift.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech, which is the sponsor of the show, and they're a local mechanic shop ready to give you professional service on your vehicle, and you can know as a customer that the proceeds are going to support men in long-term residential recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. Freedom Farm Ministries usually services about 30 to 35 men, and we are fairly low cost, and we could use all the help because even what people do pay to be at Freedom Farm, it covers less than half of what it costs for us to have guys there. So we need business in order to support the ministry. So give Freedom Auto Tech a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. They're open Monday through Saturday. You can get 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty with the parts that you buy. And you get great service. You can get your car fixed right. So give them a call, 828-355-4434, and know you're supporting a good cause. All right, so this is going to be the last 10 minutes of the show. So for some of you guys that have heard my story, basically my story is made up of 2 long-term periods of sobriety. I was sober from 24 to 30, and that's when I went to college to become a pastor and all of that, and that's what we were briefly talking about. But at the end of that, I was in a car accident, which resulted in a major surgery, which resulted in pain medication, which resulted in a settlement, which resulted in me having a good chunk of cash to try to make myself impressive with, which I moved to Costa Rica and opened a sports bar. So that's a very crazy story. It's not a very fun topic to talk about. Everybody knew. I'm sure your gut was sunk when I told you that's what I was doing, maybe. I don't know. I was probably pretty convincing that it was a good idea for a while, but then I think it wasn't long before you were getting reports that I was not doing well down there. And I didn't. I was not doing well, and that's a very, very dark time in my life.
Your partner loved you and kept me abreast of things.
Yeah.
When I went down to visit you, and oh no, I'm not drinking, and I'm always snooping around, and I would find all the little bottles under your pillow and under your mattress, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was bad, and things got really bad there, and I went home after being down in Central America for 3 years, and when I came back, there was 2 more years of what you call like a humbling process that I had to go through, because I was so arrogant, so full of myself, that basically my idea was you couldn't tell me anything about being sober because I had done that before and I did it better than anybody else, and you couldn't tell me anything about God because I had a degree that said I knew more than everybody. So when my mom was talking about, finding me in a bathtub, going into a coma, all these things happened after I came back from Costa Rica, and it was very, I mean, I say it joking a long time, but it's probably a lot of truth there. But I probably took multiple years off your life with the stress and anxiety that I put you through, and I tell this to anybody watching, listening, because I want you to understand that there is hope. Okay, there's a lot of disappointment when it comes to seeing people that you love and going through what they're going through. But don't give up hope, okay? If there's anything that I want my life to be about is to try to give people hope that things can get better. They really can, okay? I was sober for 6 years and had tremendous success, and then relapsed for 5 very, very long, painful years. 3 of them I was out of a country, and there was only like little stories going on. So a lot of people don't really know the degree of how bad that was, because I was basically only had my partner down there keeping an eye on me, and he was scared to death about me, so I probably took years off his life. But ultimately, 2 years back in Florida was really, really terrible. And
thank God for our minister, Reverend Lynn Downing, who was your mentor, and so many calls to Lynn and from me, and then he would call you, and he just did his best to keep you on track.
He did. I had a lot of people that cared about me, that loved me. Sometimes they had to love me from a distance, and actually, ultimately, that's what you had to start to learn to do.
Tough love.
Tough love. But remember, we've defined that on this show many, many times. Tough love does not
thing for a mother to do.
Yeah. Tough love does not mean that you project a hatred towards your loved one. It doesn't mean that you don't stop. You don't not continue to speak to them and tell them that you love them if that's still appropriate. I mean, there are times when speaking to the individual obviously has been cut off because of things that they have done. But tough love isn't like just completely exiting somebody out of your life. Tough love is saying, hey, look, because of your choices that you're making, I'm not going to continue to contribute to your life and the ability to make those choices. But I still love you, and if you ever want to get help, we're there for you. And you, I think didn't you go to like some support meetings or something, and they started telling you how to deal with me? I'm 35 years old. I was hospitalized for an episode. I overdosed at a pastor's house, and was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, I think. And we found out this year. I thought for years I'd had a heart attack. That's what I was told bedside. That's what you understood. That's what I understood. But last year I was trying to get life insurance, and I found out. I got the records from that event, and they were treating me for a heart attack. They told me I had a heart attack, but then they ruled it out after 36 hours of observation that I did not have a heart attack. I had an episode. So that's what had happened. But that was all due to drug use. I had overdosed. I had taken drugs that I was not familiar with, and I overdosed, and I survived it. And you took me straight from the hospital to a psychiatrist. You were trying to get some kind of an answer. I went in there and told the psychiatrist everything I knew to tell psychiatrists. I walked out of there with more drugs than I was on previously, as far as psychotropic drugs and other things. And we were there. This was a moment, because we were in Boca Raton. You lived in North Palm. We had about a 40-minute ride or so, and you didn't know what to do with me. And I was assuming I was going to your house, but you had been told, no, you can't bring him to your house because of the way he's living. So we got into a bit of an argument on I-95, and that led to me telling you to take me to a house where my friend was staying, which was basically like an empty house. And you sat in the driveway of that house, and you wept because you thought I was going to die. But you knew that you could not continue to contribute to my lifestyle. And I was very mean to you. You tried to keep my wallet or my debit card and my medication that I had gotten, and I told you if you kept it, I'd call the police on you. So I told you. I said that I'd call the cops and tell them you stole it. So I told her. And you basically told me something along the lines, I don't know but verbatim, but you told me through your window that you loved me and you want nothing more than for me to get better, but because of the choices that I was making, you were no longer going to help me, and you said to the degree, if I see you eating out of a dumpster, I'm not helping you because of your choices that you're making to live like this. And you left. And 2 weeks later, I came to North Carolina. And that was probably, you've told me many times, one of the most difficult things to do. And you know what? To tell you how difficult it was and how much drama, that we got 2 minutes left, it took, one of the things I used to do in order to get drugs was pawn a shotgun, which was a gift from my mom for graduating college. And on my way up here, I told her it was in the pawn shop, and I begged her to get it out. She'd already gotten it out 2 times previously. She did not. She told me, you know what, until you lose things, maybe you'll never get better. 5 years later, she comes up here to visit. I'm unloading her car, and there's my shotgun. She had gotten it out and never told me, but she never felt comfortable enough to give it back to me until 5 years had passed. So I want to end it telling you, if anybody's out there and you're struggling reconciling with your family, give it time, lots of time, because the damage I had done, it took 5 years for you to feel comfortable to give me back something to that degree that I used to use to contribute to my horrible substance abuse. Anyway, Mom, thanks for being on the show with me today. I love you to death, and
I love you too, son.
And life's a lot different now, and I'm glad where it is, and I'm glad that you're there to be a grandmother to my children, and you come up here and visit. Thank you for Allegiant Airlines for making it so easy for people from South Florida to come up here, because it's pretty stinking easy. But anyway, Mom, thanks again for being on the show, and maybe we'll be able to convince you to come on again. Say bye to everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. We'll be back next Thursday, folks.
Great show, Jimmy. I just cannot believe. I really mean. I look at you now, and you telling these stories.